Chess is one of the best games, and you should learn it. You should learn it intimately. I learned it at a very young age. In fact, I was pretty good at it when I was like 8 or 9. I had left it behind for other stuff, but the thing that it taught me was to put myself in the shoes of my opponent, to imagine the world from his point of view. So you're you, and you have this friend. Let's call her Nancy. Nancy is this friend your age, a friend from college or something like that, right? And she is, well, let's be frank, she's fat. She's a porker. And, the face department, she's kind of ugly. Yeah? But Nancy, I mean, you've been like bros, pals, since forever. Since, first week of freshman year or whatever the fuck, right? And you're like peas and carrots, and you talk about all kinds of stuff, right? And you're best buds, and you've always thought of her as your best bud. Huh? And she's like this best bud who does all kinds of stuff for you, She listens to you when you've got problems with your boss. And, when you have to wash clothes and stuff, she helps you do it. Sometimes she does it herself, and sometimes she'll go to your apartment because she has a key to your apartment, and she'll just go to your apartment and sort of like spritz it all up, and everything. And she's just somebody that you can talk to, and you can talk to her at 2 a.m. about whatever's going on. Whenever you call her, she always takes your call, and she's just like, she's such a great friend. Yeah, and then one day, Nancy here, she calls you up and she says that she's going to go and pick you up because she's got this friend called Kim. Okay, and Nancy comes in a car with Kim, and Kim is hot. I mean, really fucking hot. I mean, just like whoa, Nelly. You know what I'm saying? And the three of you go out, and you and Kim are kind of like flirting and stuff. And then, a couple of days pass, and Nancy calls you, but you're kind of busy because you got work and you've got stuff to do. And you've also got Kim, You've been like sort of like calling her up and texting her, and you go on a couple of dates, and you bang her, and, things are going well. Things are going real well with Kimmy, right? And Nancy gets wind of this. And all of a sudden, she's pissed off. She goes to your house, and she yells at you, and she says that you're such a bad person, and that she never wants to have anything to do with you ever again. And you're like, what the fuck, man? I mean, we're friends, we're bros, we're pals, And I met this Kim girl, and she's hot, and so what the fuck is the problem? I mean, Nancy, you and I, we're just friends, aren't we? So you see the situation, right? There's this channel I follow, a very small one, but I think it'll grow, and I'm looking forward to watching it grow, called Wheat Waffles. Wheat Waffles, plural or singular? I forgot. It doesn't matter. And I'll leave a description in the link below. Now, Wheat Waffle put out a video a while ago, and in it he talks about the most uncomfortable situation, the most depressing situation that had ever happened to him, something that had totally black-pilled him, right? Because Wheat Waffle, he's this young guy. I don't know how old he is, but from his voice, I mean, if you told me that he's like 19 or 23 or somewhere in that age range, I wouldn't be a bit surprised. And his mentality is very much of that age. It's dark, nihilistic. I mean, totally fucking black-pilled. The kid is just black-pilled as fuck, yeah? And he told a story that was basically the story I just told you. He'd been, being friends with some girl, and she made it really fucking clear that they were just friends, yeah? And, Wheat Waffles all of a sudden introduced her to some friend of his who was a good-looking guy. And all of a sudden, this girl just blew him off and ran after this friend. I think the friend in the story was called Jeremy or some shit like that. Doesn't matter, The outlines of the story are what matter, of course. And he was so pissed, Wheat Waffle. And I'm not shitting on the kid, okay? I want to make it really fucking clear. I'm not shitting on the kid or putting him down. In fact, his videos have given me a lot to think about. And the fact is that this first video that you're watching is going to be the first of 3 that I'm going to be doing regarding Wheat Waffles. Because his situation, his point of view, I mean, how can I put it? I don't want you to shit on him, quite the contrary, because if I met him, I'd want to hug him. I want to hug him and tell him, kid, dude, you're not seeing the bigger picture. Yeah, because Wheat Waffle is a very sharp kid. He's a smart kid, but he's totally nihilistic and totally black-pilled because he has a limited perspective as to what's going on, and also, smart as he is, he's not using his power of empathy, of projection, of figuring out what the other person is thinking. He's not using that, okay? And so he tells a story of how he was friends with some girl. And he was just friends, but you know, the whole implication of his being just friends is that he wants to get in her pants, right? And he figures that if he's friends with her, he'll get that much closer. And then he's pissed off, I mean really fucking pissed off, that she blows him off, you know, for some good-looking friend of the kids, right? This Jeremy fellow, I think his name was, like I said, it doesn't matter. The point is that, see, Wheat Waffle said in his video that he had devoted so much time to this girl and listening to her problems and being a good friend, and in the end, she just ran off with some other guy. And I'm like, dude, come on. I mean, come on. If you had like a 250-pound girl as a friend, not girlfriend, but rather girl who happens to be a friend, and you know, she was your friend and she did all kinds of stuff for you and helped you out and this and that and listened to your problems and talked to you at all hours of the day or night, but you just didn't want to bang her, right? And all of a sudden she came at you like, you know, why aren't you in love with me? You know, I'm doing all these things for you and you're not, and you'd be like, what the fuck, man? What is your problem? We're just friends. See? That's the exact same problem that happened with Wheat Waffles. He was just a friend to this girl. And she had made it clear from the get-go that she didn't see him romantically. Just as you, as a guy, would never see a butt-ugly 250-pound girl as a potential mate, as a potential sexual partner. No, you wouldn't, unless you're at the very bottom of the totem pole, right? But if you're, you know, medium and up, you're not going to look at some porker like that as a potential girlfriend. Of course not. You'd be out of your fucking mind because you can do better. Of course you can. And see, Wheat Waffle, he, smart as he is, was not putting himself in her shoes. He was not putting himself in the same situation and imagining the same situation from her point of view. You play chess, you're white, and you move a few pieces here and there. You know, open with a pawn and maybe a knight and whatnot. But within the second or third move, I mean, right after you've done your opening, if it's a structured opening, you're instantly putting yourself in the shoes of your opponent. And you're imagining the board from the point of view of black. And you're white and you're playing, but at the same time, you're imagining yourself as black and seeing the board from black's point of view. And seeing what opportunities are available to you as black so that you, as white, can counteract those or exploit some weakness he might have that you might not notice unless you put yourself in black's shoes. You see what I'm saying? Smart guys, especially young guys, young smart guys, often as not fail to put themselves in the shoes of the other person. And it happens in all kinds of contexts, by the way. I'm talking about girls, right? But it happens in business. It happened to me a lot. When I was young, for instance, I got involved in a few deals, and I didn't realize what the other person wanted from the deal. I thought that they were just paying me because, you know, I was such a great guy. I didn't quite understand why they were paying me the amount of money that they were paying me, because I was young, naive, and I failed to put myself in their shoes. As I got older, of course, I learned to be, you know, a semi-expert in that. Because as you get older, you realize that that's the most important fucking thing. Yeah, you always want to put yourself in the shoes of the other guy. You always want to look at the board from the point of view of black. And ask yourself, you know, what's the smart move? Why am I moving? Why am I doing this instead of that? You always want to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And the case of Wheat Waffles here, this amusing story. Yeah? Smart as the kid is, he's not putting himself in the shoes of the girl. And he can do so. He's smart enough to do so, certainly. I mean, I can tell that the kid's got brains, yeah? And this amusing nihilism, which he'll get over it because he's young. And right now, he views the whole of existence as this black pool of misery, and he's drowning in it, and he's kind of enjoying it, right? Because when you're young, you kind of enjoy that kind of nihilism and extreme pessimism, if you want to call it that. Yeah, because when you're young, you're like that. And how do I know? Because I was young too. And I was like that. Every fucking smart kid, when they're young, is like that. They go through a phase of being these black-pilled nihilists and just like being miserable about the world, instead of projecting their imagination into the shoes of the other people and trying to see the world from their point of view so that they can get an advantage and achieve the things that they want. Wheat Waffle here in this story about being friends with this girl and getting absolutely nowhere. Yeah, he wasn't putting himself in her shoes. If he had done the simple experiment, the simple thought experiment rather, of imagining that he's a hot guy and he has a friend who's like this ugly porker, then he'd understand the situation immediately and realize how foolish his expectations really were, because they were. Because he was setting himself up for failure. He was trying to be friends with the girl in order to get in her pants. And the funny thing is that you listen to the video, right? And he's kind of like, he keeps insisting that he's just friends with her, but at the same time, it's so obvious that he has this expectation that he's going to bang her, that eventually, with all the sacrifice and work, she'll be like, oh yes, you're the one that I want. And she'll just unzip her fly, pull down her pants and open her legs and, come and fuck me, big boy who's been my great friend for all these months. Of course that's not gonna fucking happen. Of course not. Come on, man. Kid, dude. Of course she's not gonna spread them for you just because you were a good friend. Just as you would never want to bang some ugly porker just because she's a good friend and listens to your bullshit and, cleans up your apartment once in a while. Of course not. You'd be thankful, you'd be grateful, you think that she's a wonderful person, and what would you be wishing for her? You'd be wishing, and you'd tell her probably, you'd say, oh, you're such a great girl, you'd probably make somebody a great wife and mother and a wonderful companion through life. You'd probably say that, just as this girl told Wheat Waffle and what a great guy he was and that she really hoped that he'd find some girlfriend, man. Look, I want to insist, man, I'm not putting this kid down, okay? And probably Wheat Waffle is watching this shit, yeah? And he's probably thinking to himself, what the fuck is this old fart going to be doing for 3 fucking videos? Well, there's a lot to take apart in your videos, okay? And it's really interesting, and that's why I'm going to be doing these videos. But, the point, I want to make it clear to you. Okay, to you, Wheat Waffle, who's watching this, and you, just regular audience members, I am not shitting on the kid, okay? I have tremendous affection for young boys like that because I was that boy, okay? And I realized retrospectively that I had a very limited viewpoint as to what was going on. And so that's why I'm hoping that by, talking about this thing and using the chess metaphor, you'll understand and expand your viewpoints, because you've got the brain power. There's no question about that. You've got the brains, but you don't have the experience, and you have like these blinders on. You're holding on to certain assumptions about the world that are radically incorrect. And they seem to be correct, but they're not. In other circumstances, when you're like a good friend to somebody and you're always there and loyal and trustworthy and whatnot, especially with other guys, that counts for a lot. And it's because of our evolutionary makeup. If you're a good friend to a guy and you're always there, loyal, steady, he'll not only count on you, but he'll be there when you need him, okay? But you are applying that dynamic, which works exceptionally well with other men because we evolved for this for this to happen, right? You're applying that attitude, that behavior, which works with men, you're applying it to women where it doesn't work. Because women have other desires. Because women are different from men. And you're a young guy and you've been brainwashed into thinking that guys and girls are the same. And so you're applying a mechanism of connection that works with other guys to go out and hunt the woolly mammoth. You're applying it to a girl, it's failing, and you're pissed off. And you're getting all black-pilled. And you feel that your illusions are being destroyed. Well, in a sense, your illusions are being destroyed because your illusion, your false assumption, will never work with women. And that's why you failed. So understand the situation. And how do you understand the situation? By putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Imagining what it would be like if you were in their shoes, imagining that you're playing their position. How would you move? What pieces on the table would you move around? The rook, the queen, one of the pawns, what? What would you be worried about? What would be your priorities? Always put yourself in the shoes of the other person. In our contemporary culture, there is a lot of emphasis on not doing this. All this crap about, lived experience and whatnot, and that you can't talk about something unless you've actually lived it, that's so much bullshit, okay? Because it's number one, it's not true. And number two, by following this guidance, you refrain from trying to empathize and put yourself in the shoes of somebody else. And by doing so, you fail to understand a more complete reality. Because remember, objective truth is objective. Truth is objective, but points of view on that truth are not merely relative, but they're rather limited. Because you as a human being are a limited individual, and you only have a single point of view. But if you imagine yourself in the shoes of somebody else, and assume their point of view, and imagine the world from their point of view, you'll have a greater appreciation as to the truth, and you'll understand reality better. And ultimately, that's what you want. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please check out my Patreon. Link is in the description below. I put out an extra video every Wednesday, and I also put out a Sunday show called the Weekly Webinar, where it's a 2 to 3 hour presentation, and I take questions and answers, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. So please check it out. Link is in the description below, as I said, and yeah, that's it. Thanks so much, and I will catch you next time.